Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sabrina Kofer, and on behalf of Choice and ACRL, I'd like to welcome you to today's program, Beyond the Budget Crunch, Building an Affordable Collection with a Multi-Model Approach, which is sponsored by OverDrive Academic. This session is one in a series of sponsored webinars from Choice and ACRL that addresses new ideas and developments of interest to the academic library community. Now I'll just put some links in the chat for where you can register for upcoming Choice ACRL webinars or watch previous webinar recordings. Before we get started, I'd like to point out just a few features of our webinar software. All of the attendees who join the presentation are automatically muted and your cameras are off, so don't worry about generating any noise or feedback. We've got that taken care of for you. In the main area of the screen, you can follow along with the presentation materials. To adjust the size of the slides or video, you can use the divider in the middle of the screen to slide the sizes to your liking. We are using the Q&A feature today. Please use it to ask questions of our speakers or to share any comments. We'll answer as many questions as we have time for at the end of the presentation, so please type your questions into the Q&A module as they occur to you. You can also use the upvote feature to highlight questions you like or would like to be addressed. Also, there's closed captioning available for today's session. To toggle the automated captions on or off, please use the CC button on the bottom right corner of your screen. Please note that we are recording today's program, and everyone who registered should receive a follow-up email with a link to the archive version. Now I'd like to introduce our speakers for today. Malika Grant is Librarian for Humanities and Area Studies at the University of Minnesota. Laura McMahon is Account Manager at OverDrive. Kenny Cruz is Digital Content Librarian at OverDrive. And Josh Garcia is Marketing Manager at OverDrive. And with that, we are ready to get started, so I will hand it over to Laura.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come to this presentation. We really appreciate it. I have the pleasure of starting our presentation off today. So we're going to go through a very quick agenda here. We're going to first introduce what we're going to be talking about today, talk about Beyond the Budget Crunch and what that means and ways that we can maximize our budget. We then have a partner spotlight from the University of Minnesota. We will then talk about content and ways to help our budget goals, product updates, and then marketing and sales reports. Please feel free to use the Q&A, as Sabrina said earlier, but we should have time at the very end for Q&A as well. Before I get started with the introduction, we would just like to say that Libby and Canopy are now together as one in OverDrive, so we are very excited. We are one team supporting both Libby and Canopy, and we are moving forward together. So a quick introduction for what we're going to be discussing today. It is Beyond the Budget Crunch. So we're looking for ways that when your budget gets tight, we all have a budget that we need to stick to. What are some ways that we can maximize that budget and increase your spend to help your users across your campus? One way that we can do that is to use a combination of our different lending models that we offer here at OverDrive. One size does not fit all. You can use multiple lending models any way that you see fit. And we are going to discuss those lending models here in one moment. Here are our 5 main types of lending models. We have one copy, one user, metered access, OverDrive Max, simultaneous use, and cost per circ. One copy, one user is exactly what it sounds like. It's our lending model that if you purchase in this lending model, you get one copy of that title, one user can check out that time, and it can then have holds on it for people that are waiting in line. There's never an expiration date on these titles. So once you purchase in this lending model, that title will stay in your collection forever. This is the lending model that closely resembles a physical book from a physical library that you would go and check out. Next is metered access. We have a number of different metered access types of lending models that we offer. One is by time, one is by a set number of checkouts, and one is by a combination of both. So a typical lending model in metered access by time would be 24 months. So if you were to purchase a title in metered access 24 months, you would have that title for 24 months. It would then expire from your collection, and you would have to see if you would like to go back and repurchase it or just let it expire. A typical one by checkouts is 26 checkouts. You would have that title in your collection for 26 checkouts. And then once all 26 checkouts have been used up, you would have to go back in and either repurchase or let it expire. And then we do offer one that is a combination of both, whatever happens first, either by the time or by the checkouts. OverDrive Max or metered access, 100 checkouts concurrent users, or MACU, all mean the exact same thing. This lending model is metered access, 100 checkouts. However, it can be used concurrently. So multiple people can check out that title at the exact same time. This is really popular for book clubs, course reading, things that you need multiple students, multiple users to, have access to the same title at the same time. Next up, we have, I think I skipped a slide. Go back here. We have our simultaneous use lending model. These are packages that publishers have put together that offer their content in simultaneous use. So multiple people can use and read those titles at the exact same time. The typical subscription is for 1 year. However, we do have some others in there. And we do offer some open access titles, which I'll get to here in a moment. And the last lending model that I like to talk about is our cost per circ lending model. Cost per circ is very interesting because you could add every single one of our titles from our cost per circ lending model to your digital collection, and it will never cost you anything until somebody actually checks out that title. So there is no upfront cost. Typically, all of these titles go for around $2 to $4 per checkout. And if you do add these titles to your collection, you will be asked to set a monthly budget. So you're not spending thousands of dollars in, one weekend from all these checkouts, so that there's a limit on how much you spend so your users aren't, running up your budget. Another way to maximize your collection is by using our open access titles that we have available. We do have 3 open access titles that are available in simultaneous use from Taylor and Francis, University of Michigan Press, and Springer Nature. These are academic titles, journals, research papers that are offered to you all in simultaneous use completely free. So you could add every single one of these collections to help fill out your collection, and it will not cost you anything. Multiple titles in these collections, are current and were published, as late as 2023. And you can also curate all of these titles just like you would any typical ebook or audiobook that you have in your collection. So it's a really great option to help fill out your collection. And if you are interested in these open access titles, please feel free to reach out to us. Lindsay Levinson is going to drop the email address that you can contact us in the chat right about now. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Malika Grant from the University of Minnesota.
Thanks, Laura. There we go. So at the University of Minnesota, our main driver for deciding to add OverDrive was to add online access to ebooks not available through our main vendor, YBP. This includes smaller independent publishers as well as the big 6. But also, we have been shifting in recent years to do more to support students outside of their academic work, promote reading for fun and personal interests, as well as work, and generally support them as whole people, not just students. We have print popular reading collections, but we wanted to provide access to that type of material online as well, especially during COVID. And then during COVID quarantine in May 2020, George Floyd was killed. And this happened just a few miles from the Twin Cities campus. And it had such a heavy impact on our community. We had lots of groups and units on campus that had anti-racist reading lists that they wanted to share. And we found that there was a lot of content included in those that we weren't able to purchase in ebook format through our regular vendors. So this was a new service we could build to help support this need and as one way to help demonstrate that commitment to diversity and supporting anti-racist work. So this is our mission and values statement for collections and content strategy. Sorry, that's so small and hard to read, but I wanted to share our mission and values here because it reflects that commitment to equity, inclusion, and accessibility and community-driven collections as core values. When you're trying to prioritize where your collections budget is being spent, you have to identify the key areas where investments are most critical. This ensures that limited resources are allocated where they can have the most significant impact. It's really important to have a meaningful vision that can help you make difficult decisions in managing budgets. So earlier you heard about the OverDrive purchasing models, and the two we have used so far at Minnesota are one copy, one user, and metered access. So far, we have strongly preferred the one copy, one user model for long-term collection building, and generally choosing titles that we think will have long-term value and relevance. But metered access titles that are available for concurrent use for a certain number of users, which is only some percent of those metered access titles, are really useful for course support. And that is the main reason we have decided to purchase metered access titles. Lots of data is available to track the usage and impact of your collection over time. You can analyze circulation data and other metrics to inform your decisions about which titles to purchase, ensuring that resources are allocated effectively to meet the demands of your users. And cost per use analysis is a really powerful way to demonstrate the value of this collection. Another aspect of our collection's mission and value statement I shared earlier is that our collections should be community driven. A newer feature of the Libby app is that patrons can tag books they are interested in reading that we don't already have with Notify Me. This gives really good insight into the materials your patrons want. And as I mentioned earlier, OverDrive works with small local publishers to provide ebooks not available through our academic vendors. And so we've been able to provide access to very local content through publishers like the Minnesota Historical Society Press. And as a bonus, a lot of this content is relatively inexpensive. One thing that has surprised us is the demand for audiobooks. Requests through Notify Me and our regular library comments form has been higher than anticipated for these. But it makes sense because these are so flexible to use as well as accommodating different learning styles and accessibility needs. By focusing on acquiring materials that meet the specific needs of the community, you can ensure that resources are allocated efficiently and effectively. Experts at OverDrive, like our next speaker, Kenny, do a great job of creating topic lists to help you develop your collection and curate content. Content collections in Libby are really useful tools to help highlight and market content. These images show a few recent lists that have been well used in our collection. just for a few examples, highlighting new Black fiction for Black History Month, celebrate National Poetry Month, and highlighting the selections of a student-run book club. And OverDrive sales often align with content collections I'm already planning for Heritage Months, so I have found these really useful to help build diversity in our collection and add older but still relevant and popular items at a savings. And statistics show that users pay attention to these curated collections and use them to find items they're interested in. So we know these are useful and effective. And with that, we're over to Kenny.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kenny Cruz. I'm a digital content librarian here at OverDrive, and I'm just going to breeze through a couple of slides talking about some of the new content that we have available here, as well as some of the tools that are available to you to help build your collection. So the first thing I'd like to point out is that the OverDrive catalog is vast. We have over 5 million ebooks and audiobooks in our collection from a variety of publishers. It skips to a little bit too far on that slide. From a variety of publishers, sending us their newest content as well as their legacy content. So we have everything from the most popular titles to the classics and the literary canon. So if you're looking for anything, we can help you find it on OverDrive. Some of the newest things that we're seeing here at OverDrive, this stuff releasing this month is the new James Patterson book, which is a great nonfiction book interviewing some booksellers and librarians. The new book from Eric Larson, which is a great history book about the Civil War, and then Salman Rushdie's newer book, Knife, about his assassination attempt a couple of years ago, as well as some of our most popular titles, which no surprise we're seeing Atomic Habits circulate very, very popularly, as well as young adult content like The Fourth Wing. Rebecca Yarros is very, very popular here at OverDrive. And one of my favorite books over the last couple of years is still on the top circulators, I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, which has picked up in circulation recently because of the new documentary Quiet on Set. So one of the greatest ways that we can help you grow your collection is actually getting you in touch with what your patrons actually want. So it's been thrown, the Notify Me tool has been thrown around a couple of times today, but on the back end, that's actually called the Patron Interest Manager, and it's a purchasing tool that's available for you to help get in touch with what your patrons actually want from your collection and how you can grow it to tailor to their specific interests. When a user searches for a title on Libby, what they're doing is actually interacting with a tool called Deep Search. And what Deep Search does is if the title that they're looking for isn't available into any of the libraries that they're actually part of, they'll still get results if the title is available on OverDrive as a whole. But instead of borrow or place a hold, it'll say notify me, and that will apply. And they can click on that, and it'll apply a notify me tag to that title. All the libraries that they're a part of will get a notification that that title has been tagged as something that one of your patrons is interested in, and all that information filters into the Patron Interest Manager to help you create carts, create static lists, and a bunch of other stuff that you can do with it. So it helps you gauge the interest for each title in your collection, including like whether or not people want audiobook versions or ebook versions. You can tailor each one of these lists to filter out things that maybe you don't want. So if you're an academic institution and maybe you don't want some of that pop romance stuff, you can actually just filter it right out of the Notify Me report, and you won't get notified for those recommendations to your library. Like I mentioned, you can have the tool actually create carts for you on a monthly, weekly, bi-monthly basis. They won't purchase them themselves, but it is a great way for it to automatically create a cart for you of titles that are of interest to your patrons. And like I said, you can have a bunch of different plans filtered all in different ways and have it automatically create carts for you to easily purchase things for specific categories, in specific formats, subjects, languages, or whatever you need to fulfill the needs of your community. There are tutorials on the OverDrive help site and on the Resource Center, which Josh is going to be talking about a little bit later. So feel free to, when you get this this presentation in your email, just click on this little watch this tutorial link here, and it'll give you a nice video walkthrough of how to use the tool. Malika mentioned that we support a lot of smaller regional presses, and I wanted to highlight a couple that we actually work with on a regular basis. Grove Atlantic, which is the joint business of Grove Press and Atlantic Press in Canada, does a lot of great publishing of smaller titles that are written by First Nations folks, or just things of regional interest to the Canadian audience. On the other side of the globe, we have a partnership with the University of Queensland Press, which is a really, really great small press in Australia that publishes a lot of really interesting historical stuff from the standpoint of the Australian perspective, as well as a lot of the First Nation and Aboriginal content there as well. We mentioned open access titles a little bit, and we have 3 main collections of our open access titles, of our open access content from the publishers Taylor and Francis, University of Michigan, and Springer Nature. Now, open access titles, as I'm sure you know, are federally funded titles, or federally funded research that have to be offered as free because we pay for them with our tax dollars. All of these content are free to use. You can add them to your collection either on as a whole collection or one at a time. And a lot of these things are just published academic research from the past, and including stuff from as recent as 2023. University of Michigan has some great narrative nonfiction stuff on interesting topics, as well as Springer Nature's vast collection of academic research. And then I believe I am going to be passing it on over to Josh here for some product spotlights. Thanks for your time, everybody.
Thanks so much, Kenny. Lots of good stuff in there. So yeah, I did want to transition us over to just a little bit more of an in-depth look at some of the product. There was a great mention for Notify Me tags, and I did want to actually talk about what's on the front end of the product, especially Libby, especially with things that you might not know that Libby has. So I wanted to first off say that we wanted to make sure that everybody on campus, regardless of where they are, who they are, what their ability is, we want to make sure that they have access to the best in quality books, ebooks, and audiobooks. So I'm going to go right through here and just kind of rapid fire through some of these different features that you'll see and benefits that that your campus can really benefit from, including 48 playback speeds. Some people really like to listen to or watch, listen to their audiobooks at a very quick pace. I'm not so much one of them, but I know some people like those 2x playbacks. It's great for people who really want to specify and customize their experience there. Ebook display options. This is great, especially if you get very personifity like me about text and typography. There are so many great different ways that you can customize your typeface with specific ebooks. On here, you can also see different types of line spacing, as well as ragged justification or left or justified text, and other different types of features here. On top of that, we do have dark mode. So when I'm trying to go to sleep, I'm sure maybe other people like this as well. I think dark mode is a great way to really calm the mind. It is a great feature for going through our not just our interface, but also your reading experience as well. Zoom is great, especially if you're trying to get little details from a figure that's presented on some of the books, or if you're just trying to zoom in on this great comic like you can here at 100%. It can be a little bit tough to read on handheld devices like an iPhone or Android device. So we do want to make sure that there is a great zoom feature included as well. And then there's font size and colors. So what's great about this is it's another way to kind of granularly but incrementally improve the experience that each individual user can really customize for themselves. It's just another way that we can ensure that people are getting, you can blow it up to 300%. You can, shrink it down if you want to get more on a page, just depending on what your preference is. So it is a great way to just customize your experience further. And man, this one is so great. This is something that we've had for a while, dyslexic font. It's such a great feature, especially I wish I had had this when I was growing up. I had my B's and D's completely mixed up. And it's still a little difficult, but this is a game changer for a lot of people. And I definitely can use it myself every once in a while. So these are some great benefits that we have for Libby. And I just wanted to highlight these just as a nice level setting way to get people to just realize what we do have now on Libby that you might not have known beforehand. And then lastly, can't believe I almost forgot this one. Yes, this is your Libby, and you can choose to read these books in your language. We support 14 different language types. And on top of that, you can see here, there's Cyrillic text, which is of course supported, as well as simplified and traditional Chinese. I believe traditional Chinese is actually being shown here on the right. So all different types of Latin Cyrillic character fonts are available in Libby. And then there was another great feature that people were talking about with curation lists. I know that there was a question that did come up that we'll try to answer at the end of the presentation, talking about how you actually do these curation lists and actually build these collections. This is something that I know that is very effective when you do want to drive users to specific collections that really further your library's goals or a specific focus that you might have for that time of year, or that school year or that semester. It's really a great way to just push people towards a specific area, especially if they're just browsing the site. So you can see here on the left-hand side, on the left device, we have for April, celebrate poetry here, as well as Arab American Heritage Month. So these are both great, timely ways to actually bring people to the app. You can also advertise via marketing materials, which we'll get to in a second, and really bring people to those specific lists as well. Also, you can, for best results, you can get creative and fun with how you curate and name your lists. That last month, we had a lot of people who chose and opted in for Pi Day and found different creative ways to really show that. Also, coming up in next month, Roots and Roots for AAPI, which is always great. I like that play off words. And you can really see kind of a good variation of that on the right-hand side here, with always available audio as well as edge of your seat thrillers. So get creative, have a little fun with the collections and the way that you display your fantastic collection. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I did not talk about, as the marketing manager here at OverDrive, if I didn't talk about what great ways we do have in marketing to really help further your budget or your budgetary goals. The first being, if you can go to our resource center, we have a number of great ways to advertise, your library's Libby collection, OverDrive collection, of course. And what you can do is actually download resources, download social copy. We have ready to go, ready to use without any kind of modification type of graphics and text. And in this next slide, you can see that we have pre-designed and customizable templates to highlight and direct users to those collections that you choose. So if you're trying to, drive people maybe away from some of the higher end or higher priced titles that might be very recent, a good way to do that to manage the budget is you can use some of these graphics that we have that might go towards other collections. You can also customize them. So if you do have a request, you can request actually custom graphics from us where we can create something for you that serves your purpose. So all you've got to do is reach out to your account rep and they can help you there. On top of that, one thing that would be great for helping your budget maybe is in reference to this next month and to this month and the month after, we do have the Mental Health Month Awareness Sale. So you can see here a number of books. As an example, Making Up Your Own Mind, Why We Are Restless, The Neuroscience of Memory, and 1,000 Ways to Pay Attention. But these two ebooks and these two audiobooks are only two out of, I believe, almost 4,000, 3,000 to 4,000 titles that we are going to have on sale at 25 to 50% off the suggested retail price. So you can get any and all content that's focused on or centered around mental health awareness, mindfulness, and also with a heavier focus on relevant adult content as well. So this is a very important subject, of course, and we know that maybe as finals might be on the horizon, sometimes it might be a good reminder to let people know that they can be whole people on top of the students as well. If you would like to get notified of any kind of future sales, we do have some others coming up that I can't quite tell you about yet. But if you'd like to know about some very big sales we're about to have, you can find out by signing up. So if you go to the pub.e.overdrive.com/signup, that's a mouthful URL. They're going to drop that into the chat here. You can get and specify what type of messages you would like to receive first from us ahead of everybody else, ahead of any kind of email that might happen. We do send out different types of notifications, but you can choose from news and programming. You can choose from product and service announcements, content news and special offers, as well as different types of events that might happen at OverDrive. We are very, very strict about how we send and who we send these to. So we only send out a message if you are signed up. So you must opt into these messages altogether. So hopefully that these are some other great ways to really show how you can stretch your budget. There are a number of ways. We get feedback a lot that some budgets have flatlined or some budgets are not where they'd like to be. Just talk to your account manager, and we can really help and work with you in terms of how we can stretch your budget and even increase access for what you'd like to achieve, even with the budget that you have currently. So, and with that, I do think we're going to move over to some questions. We had a couple come through.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Josh. Yeah, we can move on to Q&A. I think we also have a couple just pre-submitted questions that we'll run through first, just to give everyone a chance to put their question in the Q&A. But yeah, I'll encourage all of our attendees today, if you have a question, feel free to submit that. So to start, Malika, what were the first steps in creating your collection development policies to make a long-term investment?
So we don't have a policy that's specific for how we're working with OverDrive, but we're getting to the point in this investment in size of our collection where we might need to do that now. So the collections and content strategy that I shared is for our library collections as a whole. And of course, that was how do you create any big policy like that? Lots of feedback and a retreat and a lot of conversations. But the way that I sort of was able to use that policy to begin placing those first orders and begin making that investment and focusing on the long term is I think that's just the way that academic libraries work with OverDrive versus the way public libraries do, because our focus is always necessarily like on the longer term and not just the shorter term. So I think that just it made sense for that apply to this collection as well. I hope that answers your question. Thanks.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Okay, next question. So this was a submitted question. I wasn't aware that OverDrive had open access titles. Are they only readable within Libby, or can they be ported over to Kindle? And I don't know who wants to take this one.
I can take this one. So they are readable in Libby. And some of the content is portable over to Kindle, but all the Kindle licensing and stuff is handled through Amazon. So it's kind of hit and miss of whether or not the content is available on Kindle in addition to OverDrive Read. But OverDrive Read, the format that we use in Libby, can also be used on a variety of devices, including in your web browser, old reading tablets, your phone, pretty much anything you can think of that has a screen on it.
Great, thank you. Okay, so question here. After I've curated a list, what is a good way to market and let students know about them? And I know Josh mentioned some marketing materials that OverDrive has.
Yeah, Yeah, let me put my video on again. Thank you again for that question. Yeah, it does sound like the resource center really is the way to go. And again, like this is something that we do actually enjoy doing is uh, customizing anything that you would like to be done to promote Libby on campus. So if there's like a piece of material that you see that's like, oh, that's so great, but if we could do X, Y, and Z, especially on a curated list that you're just so excited to share, I would definitely recommend reaching out to your AM, like your account manager, and they'll be able to help you out there. We can send out that those custom graphics or your custom resources, however you'd like them to be. So I'd highly recommend that.
Also like to hop on here too and say that when you've created curated lists that you're particularly psyched about, you can reorganize them in Libby in any order that you like, even float them to the top of your screen so that your patrons can find them more easily. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do with a curated list in Libby.
Great. Malika, do you have anything to add about marketing a curated list? If that's for you at all.
One of the biggest impacts is when we post on our Instagram, our library's Instagram, and we have a great access and information services group that does cute videos sometimes about popular reading, and those are I see the numbers go up every time after those come out. Anyway, Instagram.
Awesome. Okay. I think we can move on to some audience questions. I know we already have a bunch coming in. But yeah, I encourage everyone to submit your questions. Okay, and you can also upvote any questions that you like or would like to be addressed. Okay, so we have a question here from Kathy who asks, I'm still unclear how I would go about creating a curated list. And it sounds like Kathy is from a public library. That's
Hi, I can answer that question for you. So in Marketplace, there is a Curate tab right at the very top of the top bar. And the Curate tab is the place where you would go to curate the titles that are in your collection. We offer two main ways for you to organize this collection. So one is called Curated, which you hand select titles from your collection to create customized lists. These are great for anything from Heritage Month sales to something very specific that's regional, or even something fun like, hey, here's a list of titles with purple covers. The other way is an automated list where you create basically a filter that will automatically pull in titles based on the filters that you put in, including newly purchased titles. So it's a list that you don't have to go in and continually maintain. So this is really great for subject lists, format lists, things that are going to be sticking around that are very loosely organized. And if you ever need any help doing any kind of curation, you feel free to reach out to your account manager or your digital content library, and they're more than happy to help you either create the curations for you or walk you through how to do it yourself.
awesome. Okay, thanks, Kenny. Looks like we have a question from Daria who says, what's the deduping process like? Oh, I'll open that up to anyone.
We haven't had any reason to dedupe yet. When you're buying books on the one copy, one user model, that's for one user at a time. And I think, and there's only a handful of books that we bought more than one copy of so far. So it's like, we're not anywhere near that point yet. So I don't know. I can't really speak to it.
I think a good rule of thumb is to reach out to your AE and they'll direct you to the right person. We rarely have, not rarely, I'm not gonna say that, but we do have a process for deduping, but I would ask your AE for that specific circumstance.
Great, thank you both. Okay, it looks like we have a question from Carrie. And this can, I think, go to Kenny. Does a library have to say they want the open dyslexic font? I can't seem to find it on my public library's Libby account. I think this is a font that helps people with ADHD as well.
So yeah, I'm going to take this for you really quick, and I'm going to show you my phone. I really hope that you guys can actually see it. But so I'm looking at a book right here on OverDrive. You can kind of see it, the text here, and I'm going to tap on the screen, and then the little bar was going to come down from the top, and there's a little A at the top. If I click on that A, the options are going to pop up. I'm going to try and center it so you can see the options are going to pop up here down on the bottom, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit until I find the option that says Open Dyslexic. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And then it will automatically reformat the book with the Open Dyslexic font on it. So I'm sorry if you can't see it super well. I'm happy to run it through you personally with a much better device and a much larger screen, or you can I can direct you to some OverDrive help articles. But it should be available for everybody. All you have to do is just change the book to it.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Okay, and then looks like we have a question from Clinton. It looks like Carrie found it. So thank you, Kenny. So Clinton asks, can OverDrive show or suggest titles from other resources or libraries if it's not available in the collection?
I can take this one. If you are interested in a title or some content that when you go into Marketplace that you don't see, you can always reach out to your account manager and say, hey, we would like to see this title in the catalog. We have a publisher account services team here at OverDrive who build great relationships with our publishers, and they would then reach out to those publishers to see if they are willing to add those titles to your catalog. So it would just be to reach out to your account manager, and we will take it from there, and we'll let you know when we have an update with that.
Great, thank you. Okay.
Just to add on to that too, I meant to mention this during our little talk about small regional publishers, but even if there's a publisher near you that you would like to see in OverDrive, have them get in contact with us or let us know and we'll get in contact with them and we can work to try and get them onto OverDrive.
Great, okay. The question from Leanne that just came in, we have Koha and are charged for the bib records in the catalog. I use a discovery layer to pull outside resources into the search results. Can I do that with OverDrive titles, or do I have to import bib records if I go with cost per circ, not OCOU?
So I don't know the answer specifically to this question, so I can reach out to our product support specialists to get an answer for you. I'm going to write down your name so that way I remember to reach back out to you. But I know that OverDrive we do export of MARC records. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're looking for, including of cost per circ titles that are in your collection. And in your collection just means that they're there and ready to be used. So they don't have to be checked out before they actually generate a MARC record. And the MARC records that we send out are MARC Express, and they're free of charge. But there's also other ways that you can get records as well that charge extra, depending on what kind of details that you need. And I apologize, I don't have the answer right off the bat, but I will reach out to our product support specialists and try to get you an answer for that.
Great. And we do have a bunch of questions that have some typed answers, so I might go through a couple of those just to have them in the recording. And if there's anything you all want to add to a question, feel free to. Let's see. There was a question about the dyslexic font. So can you zoom in the dyslexic font, and how is it different? And Kenny, I know you answered this.
I did, yes. So yes, you can zoom into the dyslexic font. And the way that the dyslexic font is different is it has heavier lines on certain parts of each one of the letters that help people with dyslexia orient it in their brain a little easier. So, you know, things like highlighting the edges of the D's and the B's, so that way you know which direction they're actually oriented in your brain. It just makes it a little bit easier for you to connect with what the characters are.
Awesome. Okay. We had another question come in earlier that I think Malika answered from Kira that asked, but can users also search Libby, or is that only the OverDrive materials? And Malika, I think you answered this one.
So Libby is the app for OverDrive. So the collections are the same, whether you're looking at it through the site, through our website online, or you're looking at it on your phone or device through the Libby app. But yeah, of course it's searchable from within, searchable and browsable from within Libby, and then it's also like Kenny was saying, the MARC records are integrated into Primo, so it's all searchable within our libraries search. All the titles are searchable there.
Great, thank you. And I know during the, sorry. Okay, I know during the presentation you, I think this was during Kenny's portion, mentioned OverDrive's partnerships with smaller or regional presses. So maybe you could talk, because you could also talk about your partnerships with academic presses. I know you mentioned, I think Michigan Press was one, or just plans.
Of our relationships with the academic publishers. Yeah, so we're trying to get textbooks. Obviously, they have a stranglehold on their own industry, and I don't think that we'll ever get there. But academic published content, including academic research and published papers and stuff, we have a ton of research on OverDrive. Not all of it is in open access. Not all of it was privately funded or was federally funded, but we have a huge amount of publishers supplying academic content. If you need like a list of these publishers or just recommended content, please feel free to reach out to me or to your digital content librarian, and we can help you find what you need.
Great, thank you. And let's see, I know during Malika's presentation, she mentioned the demand for audiobooks. So just wondering how OverDrive is working to meet that demand, through a collection or just, the Libby application features. I know Josh mentioned some of those.
Yeah, so this is actually one of the more fascinating topics that I like to talk about, because most people think, when they go to Libby and use it for reading, it's always ebooks, ebooks, ebooks. And then so people build their collections around that basic mantra. But what we see is actually users prefer audiobooks over ebooks almost to like a 60-40 to a 70-30 split, where 70% of all use or 60% of all use in a collection is through the ebook or through the audiobooks, where their collection is usually only 20% audiobooks. So we encourage people to definitely grow their audiobook collections to keep up with that demand, but we do understand that audiobooks are a little bit more expensive, and if you're trying to stretch your buck, ebooks are usually the way to go. But we have sales throughout the year, either on specific topics or through the month of August. We have audiobook month, which all of the audiobooks, the people that the publishers that supply their content to us will opt in to put those things on sale. I think it's August. Josh, it's right. Josh, is it August?
You blew my cover, man. I was trying to keep it secret. It's coming up. I'm not going to say which month. You need to sign up to find out when it is. But
okay,
it is coming up very, very, very soon, and it's one of our mega sales. We're going to be featuring tens of thousands of titles. It's going to be a big thing. I can't tell you exactly when it is, but it's coming up.
Awesome. And Malika, at your institution, could you tell us maybe what you prioritize in terms of audiobooks? Are those usually popular titles or academic?
So yeah, it's a lot of academic titles in our audiobooks too. Like, people just want a different way to get to that content. And in building the collection, I mentioned several times about, like, we're looking at, we're building for longevity and things we know are going to get long-term use. And a lot of the first audiobooks we added are actually like some kind of canonical titles that we already have many, many copies of, but we wanted to also add a new format in adding an audiobook. So, so yeah, it's about half of our collection, which, as I said earlier, surprised us that the demand for the audiobooks was that high. But it's great to write those.
Definitely. Great. And then we had another question come in from Clinton, who asks, this one's specific to, do you have connection on University of Queensland Press in Australia to show their titles related to history?
So we do have connections with UQP. I love trying to say that. We do have connections with University of Queensland Press. And if we are missing anything from their collection, feel free to reach out to your digital content librarian or your account manager, and we can request it from them. I believe they're one of the folks from Down Under that we get through an aggregation partner. So, like I said, please feel free to just reach out to us directly if we're missing anything or you want anything, and we can get it for you, or we'll try to get it for you.
Great, thank you. Let's see. Okay, another question from Kathy. At the public libraries, we are really trying to promote the children's collection, books, magazines, graphic novels. Do you have any tips for promoting to the elementary group?
I would say when it comes to public libraries, we do have a great division of, I would first ask to go and reach our help desk, which is extremely responsive. So you can just, basically hit professionals at overdrive.com, or you can hit our, contact page, which I can probably get up on here in a second. But they're probably the best to be able to let you know a little bit more about elementary promotions. We have our great Sora. For public libraries, it's actually, a little bit different, obviously Libby, but we also have our Sora product, which is made specifically for elementary schools and K through 12 education. But if you're looking for a public library, I would definitely recommend going to our help desk. They'll put you in touch with the right person who can help you right away in terms of how to really help curate those types of graphic novels, those magazines, of books. And we have tons of items on the Resource Center on top of that. The Resource Center itself, I did send you to the academic resource page, but you can also check out at the very top the other options for public library as well. So just in short, number one, the Resource Center, which we did link to. Number two, I would definitely ask that you, reach out to our help desk, and they will definitely direct you specifically if you're having difficulty for that.
Great. Okay. Question come in. Is the one copy, one user ebook cost from OverDrive comparable to the same title available on other ebook platforms with single user access license? So Kenny, maybe you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, the one copy, one user. Well, I will just say this: the pricing for all of our titles are dictated by the publishers. We don't set the prices ourselves. So whatever they publish or whatever they're selling it for on OverDrive is whatever they want to sell it for here, and whatever they're selling it for there is whatever they want to sell it for there. So, but for the most part, we see price parity across the platforms.
Okay. Great, we have a couple minutes left. I know, Laura, in the beginning of your presentation, you mentioned that Canopy and Libby are together. Maybe you want to explain what's going on there, what that means exactly.
Yeah, sure. Maybe Josh has a little bit more insight here, but I will say that OverDrive is our company. We support both Libby and Canopy. Libby is obviously for our digital content with ebooks and audiobooks, and Canopy is streaming content. But we are together as one and moving forward together. And Josh, if you want to add anything. here?
Yeah, so yeah, OverDrive did acquire Canopy a couple of years ago, I believe 2.5 years ago now. And so we've been part of the OverDrive family and part of a larger way to connect your campus with materials that you can use anywhere, everywhere and anywhere, no matter where you are. So what's really cool is now you can get ebooks, you can get audiobooks, which we know are super popular now. And of course, now you can get streaming video, which we know a lot of people across the region in North America already use with Canopy. So there are three great formats that really work together that you can get. And your AE or your AM can really help you with all of those products now. So
Awesome. Okay. We have time for maybe one more question. One just came in from Carrie, who says, the publishers dictate price issue. Any ideas on how to get them into conversation about ebook pricing? It's rough for those of us with small budgets.
We definitely hear you on that. Our stellar and sterling publisher account services team are always working really hard to either get prices down or to get publishers to participate in sales more often so that you can stretch your dollars a little bit more. We're talking to them. We're trying as much as you are. But if we have any updates on how that we can get content to be a little bit cheaper, we'll definitely let you know.
Great. Anything else to add from anyone? Okay, great. I think we're pretty much at the end here. So I'll just say thanks so much to Malika, Laura, Kenny, and Josh for taking the time to speak with us today. And thank you to our attendees for your questions and comments. I'd like to remind our viewers that we did record today's program, so be on the lookout for a follow-up email from Choice and ACRL with a link to the recording. Also, if you have a few minutes after the presentation to fill out a brief survey, we would really appreciate it. So thanks again to all of you out there for joining us. We hope you learned something new from this session and hope to see you again in the near future on another webinar.
thank you.